So we'll get started. For those who have just joined, my name is Amanda. I'll be hosting your webinar today. I have my colleagues on the call, Anna and Taylor. If you do have any questions throughout our webinar, there is a Q&A box that you can place any questions that you have, and they'll be there to assist you. We also have the chat function, but for any questions, if you could kindly try and pop them into the Q&A box or in the chat, whichever is your preference, that will be great. So today we are going to be running through your Lettings BDM health check. Over time, we've seen a number of our clients within our community struggle with things like system inefficiencies, gaps we discover, and the impact of the day-to-day operations with not having clean data or reviewing your system and how it can improve. This session is designed to shine a light on those common challenges and, more importantly, show how to fix them. As a BDM, you rely on your leads, your pipeline, and also capturing leads that you may not have won their business. You are on the road a lot, so ensuring that your system is working for you is super important. By the end of today's session, you'll walk away with a clear understanding of where common issues tend to occur if you have bad data, practical steps to identify and resolve them, and proactive tips to keep your systems running efficiently and with that reliability. We're excited to share what we've got coming up. So let's deep dive into that. So we'll get started. Before we do get started, for those who have joined our webinars previously, we do like to, get your input and launch some polls to get to know how you're using your system. So the first poll I'm going to launch is, how often do you do a health check within your system? Is it every month, every 3 months, or you've never really done a health check within the BDM side? Okay, I'll leave that poll up for a little moment. Okay, wonderful. Some do every month. There are some that have never done a health check, and that's absolutely fine. This is what, your day and afternoon here with us is all about. We can guide you through that. Okay, I'm going to end that poll. Thank you so much for your participation, and we'll get started. Just get the right screens up and we'll get going. All right. So the first part of our session today is having a look at your settings. Let's talk about your settings. This is where things get tailored on how you can calculate revenue, how you can distribute leads, and how to set up office targets. If these settings are not updated or you may have not turned them on, you may be recording incorrect results at the end of the month. So something that the system can do is actually track your revenue. So we're on our dashboard, and if we scroll down to our dashboard, you can capture your financials down here on the right-hand side. Have a think about how you currently capture your financials, and we'll show you where in the system that you can actually set this up. So if we go down to your settings, letting and BDM. This is something that you need to define pretty quickly on how you would like to calculate your revenue. So this can be triggered by a status, and the status is either management secured or property leased. By selecting which status you would like to capture your financials and then having these two settings turned on, so calculate letting fee and required lead financial details upon status change. What will happen is, in my system, I have it set up when I lease the property, I want to capture the financials, and then it will start tracking my revenue calculations. And how that looks, if I just go to my leads, let's say this one here, we'll just go to a particular lead. Let's say this one here, I change the status to property leased. We're going to go through the status change wizard. I'm going to advise the system if it's a new lease or if it's a file pickup. And when I update that status, my revenue has now been calculated. So we'll do that again. Property leased. I'm tracking here whether it's a new lease or a file pickup. I'm adding in the date that I've gained that management, my achieved rent. Now, my financials, this is what I've got set up in my back end. If it is the same as my standard fees, I can just click set my financials. Or let's say this one here, we negotiated, adding in my financials there, clicking next. I'm updating that status. And then if I go back to my dashboard and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see my revenue start calculating. So just to recap on where I was, if you haven't set that setting up before, or you might want to go in and just triple check that that is the setting that you would like to set, come to settings, letting, under your general settings, selecting which status you would like to capture these financials and ticking on what you would like to include in that. Excellent. The next thing we want to talk to you about is your targets. So within your system, you can set up your targets. If you haven't come in to review these targets, you can come through and you can update the targets that you would like. Let's say it's for the next financial year. You would select the statuses that you would like to track your targets on. And then you can come down here and start adding in your particular target. So let's say for the month of October, Amanda needs to get 10, Dua Lipa needs to get 20 management secured, and Harry Styles needs to get 30. If you haven't come through to update these targets in a while, all you need to do is just select the status and start inputting your targets. You can also do this per BDM, or if you switch to per office, you can also do that per office as well. So that's something there that you might want to do a bit of a review on. Under fees, so this is your standard fees that are in your system. Again, when I change the status, my standard fees populated, but if you would like to add any additional fees, you can click on the three dots, add new fees, or you can come in and review those. Some other things that you might want to have a look at if you haven't touched your system since you first came on board is with your promotions. If you've got any old promotions in here that you no longer use, you can come in and delete them, as well as any sources that you might either want to three dots delete, or you might want to rename these. It's a good way to clean up the back end of your system. Moving along to the top here, we've got our BDM lead defaults. Now, the way you track your temperature, you might want to review those. For example, any new leads that I'm getting from my website might not always be hot leads, so I might want to change that to warm. Or any leads that I input manually, I might want to change that to cool. Anytime you make a change, obviously click save up the top so you can save your system settings. The other thing that might be a really great thing to review is if you are having your leads generate from your sales listings, this is something to be mindful of. So if this message is turned on, the system can automatically send post messages or email delays certain business hours after the lead populates within the system. If you feel that you want to change that automation, when you would like that to be sent, you can come in and review how many business hours that message is being sent from your system. So this is the new lead from portal. And you might also want to change in your standard follow-up days so that it comes in your leads grid. And then you've got certain follow-up days that you can adhere to. So that might be a great place for you to come in and have a look and have a bit of a health check on, as well as your BDM rules. So the system can distribute leads to certain specific team members. You can also set this up as regions. We'll just get this to load. If you haven't had a look at that, and you might want to come in and review that on how your leads are being distributed. So under the BDM rules, any leads, for example, that are coming from the portal, you might want to enable a round robin. So if you've got more than one BDM within your office and you want those leads to be distributed, you can do that there. Or you might work with regions or a specific team member you want allocated. You can go through each section here under portal, website, or manual and adjust these. Just one step further before we move on to the people section. So as I mentioned earlier, if you wish to have your realestate.com sales leads convert into BDM leads using keywords under the inquiry loading, just ensure that your sales listings are being pushed into Rapid Letting. If the portal is not being activated and the leads aren't being, or the sales property is not being pushed into the system cannot generate the leads. If you need a hand with that, please pop it in the chat and we can go further with you with that. But in order for any of your sales leads to convert to a BDM lead, your sales listings need to be pushed into Rapid Letting. Okay, one last part on your system settings is under the people and team section. You do have your BDM list here or up on the top. So rentals or BDM, and just making sure that your BDMs are turned on here so that leads can be allocated to them. Fantastic. Okay, moving along to update your data. So if I just flip to my leads grid, old data. You may filter into your leads and notice that you have a lot of leads within your system. They could be under BDMs that no longer work within your business or just old data that needs cleaning up. We're going to show you how to bulk update your leads, change your statuses, and do a deep dive into cleaning up the data. Data is so important so you can ensure that you're targeting and working on the right leads. Think about the right pipeline can lead to revenue. So I'm going to start with showing you how to bulk update your leads. So let's say I've logged into my system and I've got a whole bunch of leads here that one might not be, the BDM might not be working in our company anymore, or we've got a whole bunch of leads here that we want to archive or just move to a different status. What you can do is you can bulk select all of your leads, and we have this icon here where it's called update. There's a few things that you can do in bulk here. Let's just say I've got a whole bunch of leads in here. It's, been in my system since 2021 and we want to archive these. You could create a status called archive old leads and push them into archive old leads. And you could do that all in bulk. Or let's say Amanda's left the business and I want to update all of these leads that I've selected into Dua Lipa's name. I can select Dua Lipa and click OK. Or let's say I want to change the temperatures in bulk. I can do that as well. So if I just click OK, I'll just show you what it looks like when you change the BDM's name. All of these leads are now in Dua Lipa's name. If I select these, for example, let's say I want to do a status update, I'll click on the update and I might want to archive these leads. And now they will be archived in the archived old lead status. So it's a really great way to look at cleaning up your data is by using the bulk selector to update that. When was the last time you thought about your lead journey and reviewed your messages in your system? As time is of the essence, ensuring your messages are reviewed to ensure that they are still within your brand, your voice is important. And as you know, some statuses are changed when they are changed are attached to automated messages if they are turned on. So what happens if you send the wrong message to the wrong lead, the wrong target audience? You might have more phone calls or more time wasted cleaning up the data, and or you may have lost a lead because they've received a message that's no longer applicable to them. If we move across to messages and letting BDM, think about your lead journey. So current, they are the leads that are in your current leads grid. So if I move this to current, all of these leads essentially I should be working on. They're my current leads grid. They're my current pipeline. So when you look at current in your leads grid under your messages current, these are all of the messages that are in your current pipeline. To edit a message and review the message, simply click on edit message and you will see the gray arm populating out. That's how you know you're in that message. And you might want to come through and review the message that is being sent. So simply just come through, click on edit, the gray arm will populate out. If these are unticked, it means that no messages will be sent when leads are changed to this status, or if you're getting leads from portals, for example. If these are unticked, it means no messages are being sent. Once you've reviewed your message, if you would like these messages to be sent, just click on email or SMS and click save. It's important to go through your current, your completed leads journey are perhaps leads that you were working on, that you were nurturing, or you may have lost that lead, or you've completed an appraisal and they're not proceeding. Again, just click on edit message and review that message. You do have your SMS here and also additional merge fields that you can add into your messages. Under templates, if you have templates within your system, perhaps they're quite old and you don't use them anymore, simply just click on remove and delete that out. Or if you would like to add a new template or any messages, you could add additional messages there. Okay. Now we're going to talk about campaigns. Our platform makes it easy to create a set and forget campaign. But when was the last time you reviewed them? Campaigns are triggered based on status changes, so it's important to confirm that your messages are still relevant. Sending the wrong message can lead to unsubscribes or even damage client relationships. For example, if you're targeting old appraisals where management was lost, an incorrect email could discourage them from reaching out again. So, regular reviews to ensure that your campaigns stay accurate and effective and up to date. The first thing you want to do whilst we're in your messages is come up to the top to campaigns. Now, these are all of the campaign templates that you've got within your system. So if you need to update any, you can click on edit. And again, you can update the message that you're being sent. If we navigate on the left-hand side to letting, marketing, and campaigns, this is where you can see what current active campaigns you have. You may wish to come in here often, every couple of months, to see that, if everything is still working accordingly. But under the overview, you can see how many leads you've got in total, how many templates you have in total, and if you've got any active campaigns. So if you have had a BDM that took over the system and was in charge of lettings, BDM, and you're unsure if you have current campaigns, just navigate to letting, marketing, campaigns, come in and just see if you've got any campaigns in total. Simply click edit campaign, and this is the campaign that I've got set up. Okay, so that's one way that you can check. The other way you can check is your triggers. So let's just say, for example, I want to see what my on triggers are for a campaign. I've got 2 campaigns currently set up with my system. If I click lost to another agent, I can see that any time a lead is changed into appraisal not proceeding or property lost, they will be triggered on to that campaign. So if I wanted to delete this campaign and I didn't want this active anymore, I can simply click remove. So I'm removing these triggers so that any time a status is being changed, they won't be triggered on that campaign anymore. And then you also want to look at your off triggers. And off triggers just mean that if you change the status to any of these particular statuses, the client will be no longer on that specific campaign. So just by simply clicking remove those triggers, I've removed them off from the lost to another agent campaign. If I switch to campaigns and switch to the lost to the other agent campaign, if I click on select, I can start deleting these messages, or I guess not so much the messages, but the campaign itself. If I go to delete, and I can see here that I've got 2 leads that are in the unsent campaign. So what that means is the status was changed to trigger them to be sent a message. I just click on view. I can go directly into the lead. If I click on campaigns, 3 dots, I can edit that and I can cancel them out from that specific campaign. Those clients have been cancelled from that campaign. I can come back into my marketing campaign and I can delete them out. Once you've deleted all of these steps, if you just click on actions, you can delete the campaign altogether, and then that will be deleted from your system. That's if you want to delete the campaign and obviously see if you've got any campaigns going on. So you can see now my total campaigns is number 1 because I've deleted the previous one. So just to run through that again, lettings, marketing, campaigns. I can see what campaigns I've currently got. I can go to my triggers, select the campaign, and start removing any triggers from there. And then coming back to the campaign, select and delete out the steps. And under actions, I can delete the campaign in total. So now I've got no more campaigns within my system. Again, that's a great way to just double check that. The next thing you want to do is under newsletters. Now, you may have newsletters being sent from the system that you're unsure of. This particular screen here will let you know if you've got any newsletters that are being scheduled to be sent. As you can see below here, I've got these currently scheduled to be sent. If you want to turn this off, simply click on off, and that will update to not schedule any upcoming newsletters. Okay. Now let's take a moment to pause and reflect on what we've just demonstrated. Perhaps you want to make some notes on what actions you want to take to clean up your data or review your messages. So just to recap, firstly, we went through your settings, lettings BDM, under general, if you would like to calculate your revenue, or you perhaps may not want to do that. You might want to untick this. This is where you can come to do that. Under BDM lead defaults, you might want to change your temperature. For your leads, you might want to change your follow-up days, and you might want to look at your email delay times. Under BDM rules, you may also want to look at your rules if you would like to change that at any time. Under general, if you'd like to review your targets or your fees, or perhaps look at any promotions or sources. Under messages, letting BDM think about your lead journey. If you've got statuses in here, you might have multiple statuses in here that you may no longer need anymore. You can disable these statuses. You can add more statuses by clicking add more. And if you'd like to review the message and edit those, simply click on Edit Message and review those. So think about your lead journey, have a look at your current completed, any templates that you've got created, or any campaigns. Amazing. Okay. Now, the last part of our webinar today is we're going to talk about Link Builder. If we come to lettings and leads, we've got our referrers section here. You may have a whole bunch of referrers in the system, and as part of your regular health check, it's a good idea to review these. Are they still current and relevant? Do you have a long list of referrers that are no longer needed or outdated? Unnecessary clutter that can impact your database. So to remove these, all you need to do is click into the referrer, untick active, and click save or save and close. You might also want to come and have a look at your tools and link builder and have a look at your saved links. Do any of these web forms, are they still relevant? If they're not valid anymore, simply just come in and click delete. The team will place in the chat on how to create a link, a web form, if you haven't created that before. But essentially, it is a good place to come in and just have a look at your referrers, leads, referrers, tools, and link builder. Okay.